we're looking at something that's sort of old school, and it's when you read through the book Secrets of Heaven, which is a canonical book in the New Church faith. We use it sort of for making biblical commentary, specifically on the Old Testament. There's these interchapter materials where Swedenborg will write about, like, yeah, this is how God would ask us to see freedom, and it's interesting, and we get a chance to look at that and decide whether that is something we find appealing or whether it rings true. And and today we're going to start talking about one of those chapters that talks about freedom. Now, this gets within the context of happiness. And yesterday, and I put it up on my Facebook page, a great talk by Arthur Brooks. He's a professor at Harvard, does a lot of things on happiness, writes for the Atlantic magazine, and he's fascinating to listen to. He's a very dedicated Catholic, and he has some beautiful perspectives about how to keep happiness in our lives, how to welcome happiness into our lives, and a lot of it's sort of old school stuff. And the 2 points I want to make. Point number one, and this is not a surprise, like in his research, happiness actually is not primarily based on our circumstances. His study yields that it's about 25% of any level of happiness is based on our external circumstances. So that means if somebody believes that, well, if I had more money or more time or a better job or a better partner, I'd be happy. Not always true. I mean, can be true, but not always true. 25% of the time, it will be true. Rest of the time, not. So it's an ingredient, but it's not the only thing. And with that, he said, isn't it interesting how much effort? I mean, like I feel like 90% of our effort goes into trying to create the circumstances that'll make us happy. But that is not what the research shows. And it doesn't show that because that's not how we're made. We're made for a very different kind of happiness. What is that kind of happiness? And this is point two. He said it's really sort of a basket of four things research will show: faith, family, friends, and work. Faith, family, friends, and work. And when you hear that list, right, it's so easy to, sort of eye roll. That just sounds so old fashioned and fuddy duddy. And it's old fashioned because that's what works. People who have a real sense of faith, a real sense of transcendence, connection to God, real sense of bigger purpose, real sense of kind of the span of life and what this life is all about, are going to be happier. Those people who have great family relationships are going to be happier. Those people who have some really near and dear friends are going to be happier. And those people who are doing work where they feel it's both challenging and something where they can contribute back, they're going to be happier. So those are just truisms, and that's where we really want to work. We want to work on those things. And I want to talk specifically today just about that faith one. What is faith? And I notice a lot of the time, when we talk about the need to have faith, it's easy to create a million qualifiers. Like, you really should have some form of faith in your life, but it can look like this, or this. And so we can. It's me being a little snarky. We can water it down by thinking it can be a million different things. It can be many, many different things, but do those things, are they asking you to actually be transcendent? In other words, are they asking you to think of things? Here's yourself, your small self, your ego self. And can you get that there's something bigger? Is it calling you to something bigger? Or is it just calling you right back into yourself? If it calls you right back into yourself, it will feel good. It will masquerade as a life of faith, but it really is not in the long term going to be healthy, because it's never about serving other people. If it's all about the small self and our faith just pulls us right back into that, then we're going to create families that are all about feeding that self. We're going to create friendships that are all about feeding that self. And certainly with work, work will not be about serving the world. It will all be about feeding the self. And that's why we need that transcendence, because it's so incredibly important. And here's just a line from book Secrets of Heaven. And it's talking about like this kind of freedom that we get when we get those things rightly aligned, when it's not about feeding a self as an ego self, but it's about out there serving the world. I think it's a beautiful concept. Anything that springs from love for ourselves and worldly advantages, in other words, selfishness and materialism, and from the cravings they excite, seem free to us, but that freedom is hellish. On the other hand, anything that springs from love for the Lord and love for the neighbor, and therefore a love of what is good and true is freedom itself, the freedom of heaven. And this is a real simple way to understand that. You know that we can think we're going to have a certain freedom when we follow our cravings, and that ends up being a hellish freedom. You know, when we just follow our cravings. When, however, we do the best we can to exercise a freedom that's based on our best intentions, very different. So just think of it that way. You have cravings on one hand, and you have best intentions on another. And what we're asked to do is to, as best we can, downplay this. We'll all have cravings. You know, we'll want more food, more this, more that. The other thing, we'll have cravings, but keep it moderated. You know, and instead, as best we can, move to what are the best intentions of our heart. Best intentions to make a difference, to serve, to be loving human beings, and that's where we'll find ourselves able to just be in a much better place in the world. So I hope that makes sense, friends. And may you have a day thinking about your best intentions and living into those and thinking, what are some ways today, could be a very small way, that you could feed those big four, you know, faith, family, friends, work. What can you do there that you think might bring you a little bit of happiness today because you're in a service mode, you're in a service way of seeing the world. All right, dear friends, what we're going to do now is we're going to take a breath. I'm going to ring a prayer bell, and then we're going to do a little meditation, a little prayer, a little blessing. So with that, the prayer bell. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am. Be still and know that I. Be still and know that. Be still and know. Be still and. Be still. Be. Our Father, who art in the heavens, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, as in heaven, so upon the earth. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we also forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you, bring you peace, and bring you home. Amen. All right, dear friends, let me flip open here to Facebook and give people a cheer. Hello, they got a little kids camp here right behind me, so that is what you hear there. And again, I hope everyone's having a wonderful day. This weekend in our household, we have a daughter's wedding coming up, so we are like super excited about that. That'll be, speaking of family and friends, that'll be a great event. All right, come on, Nellie. Might not cooperate. Oh, there we go. All right, Martha. Good morning to you, and Linda. Good morning to you. Hope the two of you are doing very well. Listen to those kids in the background, and I'm thinking, oh, I remember when I left teaching and realizing, like, yeah, I don't have the energy for that anymore. Yeah, it was a good career. All right, Marcus. Good morning to you, Rita. Good morning to you, and Rita. Excited, we got a baptism of a grandbaby coming up. That's very exciting. Sherry, good morning to you. I hope you're doing well, my friend. Chignone, great to see you. Hello, so great to hear from you. Have a lovely day. Same to you, my friend. All right, everyone. Well, wishing all of you all the very best, and we will see you again tomorrow. Hope you have a wonderful day. God bless. Take care. Bye-bye.